Welcome to the Adhocracy Show. On today's episode,
what is propaganda?
Why do we care?
Let's start a series about it.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm David Landeen.
And I'm JD Melville, and welcome to the Adhocracy Show, your source for advertising, marketing, art, and design.
Now, before we start our regular scheduled episode, we want to remind you about our 100 for 100 contest. The deadline is coming in quick, and we hope that we get a whole bunch of submissions before the deadline happens, because we haven't gotten very many yet. But you never know. Designers always wait until the last minute.
We
right?
procrastinate a little.
We procrastinate a lot.
And we want things to be perfect. So
make sure you get those in. You have, like a week?
Yeah, it's a little more than a week.
Okay. So, 100 episode coming up. And now onto our regular scheduled program.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right.
So today we want to introduce you to our first series video. Many times we research a topic and we kind of delve into that deep, murky pool, and we really want to, get into the meat of it, but it's hard to fit everything into a 15 to 20 minute video.
Yeah, we're not that good of writers.
One day we will be.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to start a series where instead of trying to fit everything into one video, we're going to actually do individual episodes about a certain topic. And you can follow from week to week, and you can ask questions, and we can all learn together.
Yeah, as we get conversations, as we get questions, we can kind of break these out into different videos and really delve into these things a little bit more. Have a conversation with you as opposed to us just trying to present all of this information into a small video.
We try and keep them fun, informational, entertaining. So we don't want to really just have a bunch in one episode that's really boring. Maybe you want that. If you want that, you can let us know and we'll see what we can do. But we're pretty fun. It's hard for us to be boring, as you may have noticed.
We're super fun and exciting. Yeah. So our first series is actually going to be about propaganda. This topic comes courtesy of YouTube commenter Robert Cornelius. He left us a comment on our analyzing the 2017 Super Bowl commercials.
You can go read that if you want.
Well, let's read it right now.
Okay.
I read a good book written in the 1930s. The author warned us about the influence that radio had over the population. More importantly, he warned us of the FCC. Today, I will warn you about the power of propaganda that is being used on the internet. We can live peacefully together if it wasn't for all that propaganda. I'd like to say gosh darn propaganda.
Yeah.
Because that just sounds like a fit.
You just feel like this guy's going to be a great old man sitting on this porch someday.
Yeah.
Robert,
are you old?
Added a few, maybe he is.
That's
true.
I'm sometimes.
Do you call people hooligans? And their shenanigans?
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that. So, whether that's true or not, whether that statement is true, it did lead us to start questioning propaganda and wondering, how can we cover this? We researched a bunch. There's a lot of stuff out there about propaganda. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that seemed to be the best option would be to define exactly what is propaganda. You really can't know. We have to come up with a definition that we're going to be using, because there are a lot of definitions out there.
There are, yeah. And that's the thing. When you look at a definition, there's going to be, of course, your current definitions. The way that the word is used in a lot of living dictionaries, they talk about what current use is, and that's why you get antonyms or contronyms. That's what they're called, where they mean literally the same thing. Literally is one of those words.
Okay.
Literally can mean actually something happening, and because of its use being wrong, it can literally mean something that's not actually happening.
Okay, so they literally mean different things.
Right.
Same, okay.
So, looking into the different definitions, one of the things that is common among all of the definitions that we found is that it is a spreading of information. Some kind of information is being spread. And this is either to promote a viewpoint, ideals, politics of one side, or to sort of harm or damage the opposing view, ideals, politics, etc.
Help yourself or hurt somebody else. So, more common today, the definition has taken on a negative connotation, that propaganda is biased, misleading, or false in nature. Though there are examples of propaganda being used or in relatively neutral ground.
There's times that it was actually used and it was true. In fact, the definition of propaganda has always been somewhat of a neutral term up until the 2010s. That's our time period right now.
That's us. We created the negative connotation.
We changed the way the word is used.
So now we see it as being a negative thing, but that wasn't always the way it was. But the use of propaganda is a form of persuasion used to influence people's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. Mm-hmm. So that's typically like hating of propaganda is trying to persuade somebody, though that can be confused with advertising. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about like what's the difference between advertising and propaganda, because they're very close in nature. Yeah,
because we can also point to like social awareness campaigns, right? Mm-hmm. Those are in fact propaganda, where the benefiting party is actually society at large. It would be our common safety. Think of hospitals and them telling you to cover your mouth and to wear a mask if you're sick and to wash your hands and use antibacterial.
And you may be saying, but that wasn't propaganda. That was helping me. Yes, it was.
That's big. That's big sanitizer selling their wares right there.
Yeah. Oh, it's all a big scam. No, even if it helps you, even like the more you know campaigns, the health campaigns, the wash your hands, that everything like that is propaganda, because there's not anybody benefiting from that except for you. You are benefiting.
Don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. A lot of those social awareness campaigns are definitely propaganda,
because it's sharing an idea and trying to persuade you one way or another.
So propaganda is and has been used for both political and religious purposes as well. Some of the first examples of propaganda are actually like conquerors being shown, winning every battle and being the best at what they do, as well as religion promoting their wares. In fact, the word propaganda is derived from a governing body of the Catholic Church, who is in charge of missionary efforts, and so their charge was to propagate the Catholic Church in non-Catholic countries.
Well,
isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. Now you know.
The more you know.
So propaganda in various forms can be used in different ways. Some of them are going to be malicious, meant to harm, possibly like gain something that it's not going to benefit you, and it is malicious. And you've probably seen that. You've probably experienced that. Maybe you think you've experienced that, but don't know. Others have been used to benefit society at large and create awareness. So to Robert Cornelius's point, without propaganda, we may all live peacefully, but we'd also all be dead because nobody washed their hands after using
we still have the plague.
Yeah, we still have. And probably what you hear about the most is it can be political. That's a huge one that people point to as propaganda. It can be used political, commercial, religious, or for civil causes. And we want to cover all of this. And we're actually going to be doing that throughout the series, covering different forms of propaganda and how they're used.
Yeah, so how is propaganda spread? This is where it might be good to distinguish between propaganda and advertising, because it uses the very same methods as advertising.
People forget to wash their hands and then they touch other people, and then that's how propaganda spread. They're infected with it.
Yes.
But if you wash your hands, you won't infect somebody else with propaganda.
That's kind of a good analogy. It kind of works. So in the way that it spread, in history, it was spread through paintings and comics. You think of political cartoons. Mm-hmm. Posters are definitely one of those big things.
We want you. And
keep calm and carry on. That was a propaganda. Yeah. Pamphlets, movies, TV, websites, radio, social media. It can be handouts on the street. It can really be through just about anything. In fact, we'll bring up in one of our series how a ball was used to spread propaganda.
Like a dancing ball.
A dancing ball, yes.
I was going to say you had like the tin ball that what's his name rolled down.
Oh yeah, down the street.
Yeah, that would be propaganda in the song.
That was propaganda,
yeah. So, a ball has been used twice for propaganda.
Yes, it has.
Anyway, so where propaganda is used to influence large groups of people to think, believe, or get behind something, advertising is specifically looking to sell a product or service to a large but more specific groups of people. So you have, are they trying to influence you or selling an idea to like the masses to try and change public opinion or believe something different, or are they selling something specific to a specific audience? Now, there is like a gray area that like is huge there because it's been like crossed on both sides of the
because for advertising it's consumers and businesses, like that's who you sell to, right? And advertising usually is there to create awareness. It's to inform you about what is available and usually to create some kind of general need and turn that into a specific want. I have a need for an easier life, to be handsomer, to be more popular. Here is a product that will help me run faster, be smarter, look stronger. Any of those things. That's advertising, right? And like you're saying, it's hard to draw that line between what is propaganda, what is advertising, because in many cases they cross over, and in a lot of cases both forms are used to do the other. So there is propaganda advertising and advertising using propaganda.
Which we should come up with some words for those. So it's like propagandvertising.
Propagandvertising.
And adverganda.
Adverganda. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's indistinguishable, right? Like the difference between, I mean, think of companies that aren't really selling, they are selling a product, but they're more selling the advertising more than the product. That, this is a lifestyle. You'll be healthy and fit, and that's the lifestyle. And the advertising really kind of helps you fit into a mentality of what this company wants you to think and what their general consumer believes about that product in their lifestyle. We
saw a lot of this in the Super Bowl. We saw a lot of those crossing of propaganda over to advertising over to propaganda, where they weren't like, the commercial itself was not about the product that it was selling. It was about the idea that would help the company at large, I guess, or like
think of was it 86 lumber, 87 lumber, something like that?
I can't remember.
80 something lumber.
Yeah, that lumber company.
They weren't specifically advertising lumber, but they were advertising work, and they were kind of getting behind an ideal of immigrants and people who want to work.
And I imagine this is kind of where Robert was coming from when he put that comment, is that there was a lot of propaganda that, if it's hard to recognize, if you can't recognize it and see it for what it is, then it can be a very confusing thing. But once you understand what propaganda is, it makes life a little bit easier to see through. It makes those, social media all of a sudden becomes a little bit clearer. Advertising becomes a little bit, like watching Super Bowl becomes a little bit more, okay, I see what they're doing there. Mm-hmm. Clever, don't necessarily agree with it, but clever. You can kind of appreciate it for what it is.
Right, and some of that is really knowing, because, I mean, both propaganda and advertising can use facts slightly differently, right? Yeah. They can advertise or propagate by admission, right? Not actually giving all the facts, but some of the facts.
By omission.
Yeah, omission.
Okay. And admission. Yes.
They can use like loaded language to say, okay, our cause or our product or our whatever we believe is superior to others and other viewpoints of that specific product. So really knowing that can kind of help you distinguish between.
This was really one big, long, the more you know propaganda advertisement.
It kind of was, wasn't it?
I don't know. But now that once you understand the general idea and definition of propaganda, you can now distinguish propaganda from advertising. Mm-hmm. You can now see the difference. Now, again, there's some gray lines, there's some, crossover, but looking to see who is benefiting from the belief that's being spread can indicate its purpose, and as well as distinguish if the propaganda is being used to inform or deceive. So, as soon as you understand this, you can start looking at all advertising, and it shows not all propaganda is evil and from this evil government corporation or big brother who wants to look over your shoulder and then coerce you and extort you as soon as they have you thinking the way that they want you to think. Like there's actually some really interesting and really good uses for propaganda as well that have been deceiving. Like, we'll cover some examples that were super deceiving, but actually were okay. Like they actually helped and did good things even though they were deceiving.
Like, we all believe that eating carrots is good for our eyesight. We'll cover that.
Yeah, we will.
So in our current day, it's pretty important for us to really know and be able to distinguish between, advertising and propaganda. and be informed on what's actually real and fact and those things, and what is, maybe feeding into some kind of bias. Those kind of things are going to be important today because propaganda will continue to be used.
It's not going away.
No, it's not. I mean, especially with the advances in big data, analytics, technology,
Social media.
This is a strong tool that people are going to use to influence our world, either for good or for bad.
Yeah. So this was all about what is propaganda. And if we missed something, go ahead and write in the comments. But we want to let you know our next episode in the series is going to be talking about different types of propaganda.
Yeah, we'll give specific examples of how it was used, where it was used, what, different avenues maybe of how propaganda was used.
Whether that be good propaganda or bad propaganda, maybe we'll let you decide.
Yeah, make sure that you put in the comments below anything that you would like to talk about. Is there an opinion that you have on propaganda specifically?
Yeah, I think we just may have opened Pandora's box there. All right, yeah. Put your opinion down in the comments. What do you think of propaganda?
Yeah, we definitely want to have a conversation with this series of videos. We want to delve in and we want to show both sides. We want to show good and bad. We want to show, one viewpoint and another, because that's really the biggest purpose of this stuff, right? Is to know and be informed, because, a lot of the biases can be used to push us one way or another and believe in something that may not be true.
It's true. Well, or maybe it's not. Make sure you, if you like this and you want to make sure you find out about the next episode, go ahead and click the subscribe button down there. And you can find out about the episodes. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to this channel.
Yeah, make sure you join us over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have conversations there. You can let us know of articles and other things there. Make sure that you let us know about those things, and we'll continue to have a conversation about propaganda.
Yeah, and to end this episode, because if you've been watching this, we always end with a video. We'll end with a very controversial propaganda-ish video and let you decide if it's good propaganda or bad propaganda.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm gonna just give you some actions to do. And just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair. Oh my God.